I have a good feeling that we are coming up on canceling season at DC Comics. We're about to have this big event. I imagine they have long-term plans are going to be rolling out of that. And the first, all the chopping block is Teen Titans Academy. And I must say, to whoever the leadership is at DC Comics that did this, I salute you. Job well done. This was an absolute terrible comic book by an absolute hack writer, Tim Sheridan, who's on my personal never buy list. I will never buy another comic book with Tim Sheridan's name on it unless I'm absolutely forced to. Sometimes there are comic books with characters of such prestige and name when they debut. I have to cover the comic book, but I will never, ever faithfully read a Tim Sheridan comic book, no matter who tells me how good it is. That is how many times I've been burned by Tim Sheridan's terrible writing. It started off with DC Comics Future State, and it has continued into Teen Titans Academy. For those of you wondering, Teen Titans Academy will end with May's Teen Titans Academy number 15. Writer Tim Sheridan revealed that on Twitter. A fan of the series reached out to him asking what the future plans was, and he said, "Alas, I'm afraid there won't be time for any further story arcs, as DC has planned for Titans Academy to end with issue 15 in May, but thanks for asking for reading." What's interesting is, I believe Teen Titans Academy is at number 14. It's one of those around there. It was going to be dropping the teen part, and it was just going to be Titans Academy. Now, the idea of a Titans Academy or a Teen Titans Academy is absolutely fantastic. We've seen something very similar with Strange Academy over at Marvel Comics. Brilliant series. Love every issue of it. I can read it with my kids, and we have a lot of good times. It's playing around with the Hogwarts kind of idea that you obviously get with Harry Potter and bring it into the Marvel Comics universe. DC tried to do the same thing with Teen Titans Academy, but they made a lot of mistakes with this series that's supposed to introduce you to a new generation of heroes being mentored by characters that we all know and love, the Teen Titans. The Teen Titans at one time were like the best-selling comic book that DC Comics had. It was outselling Justice League. It was outselling Batman, everything. It was one of those real A-list properties, and how DC Comics have managed to drop the ball on Teen Titans so many times for so long is absolutely beyond me. But if you haven't read the Marv Wolfman, George Perez Teen Titans, you need to go check that out. That's mandatory reading for comic book fans. It's one of the greatest comic runs in the history of the entire industry. And the bar was set so high, and they have continuously lowered it and lowered it and lowered it over time. They did relaunch Titans. Obviously, they're not Teen Titans anymore because they're not teen heroes in DC Comics Rebirth by Dan Abnett. Now, that is a damn good series. Unfortunately, there were so many good DC Rebirth titles that would appear to kind of fall beneath the cracks. It just wasn't read enough, unfortunately, because it was a really, really good run. They were doing some great stuff with Wally West, and that was kind of the Wally West series, and it felt like he was going to be enormously important to the future of the DC Comics universe, not only in that Titan series, but really in Doomsday Clock. What happened along the way? I would love to finally get the story of the behind the scenes, how they dropped the ball, not only on Doomsday Clock, not only in Titans, but on Wally West himself. All three of them were essentially obliterated under the watch of Dan Didio. So Teen Titans Academy had a lot of potential to be very cool, very good, to do something a little bit different with an idea that we all know and love. Unfortunately, they decided that all the Teen Titans, the characters that we know and love, they were just going to like be in the school as professors. Who wants to see Professor Dick Grayson? Who wants to see Professor Wally West? You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to see those characters there. If you go to the Doctor Strange, Strange Academy series, Doctor Strange shows up every once in a while for a cameo, but he's not one of the professors. He's rarely ever there. They should have brought in these high-profile, high-vis characters to show up there and to kind of feel exciting. And maybe they can go on an adventure with them in this Teen Titans Academy. But for some reason, they made them all the professors. All the kids were calling them like Mr. Nightwing and Miss Starfire and stuff. It made the characters kind of feel old. Why do I want an adventure with Stitch Boy when I've got Nightwing right here? I wanted an adventure with Nightwing, and it really overshadowed all these new characters that they were trying to get over. Another problem was the new characters weren't really memorable. These new younger heroes that they were trying to get over. And if they were, it was always for the wrong reasons. In the very first issue, you meet a character named Stitch who's yelling at people for assuming their gender because they're androgynous. You're like, what is this doing here? Maybe let's wait 8 issues before we include some of this weird social commentary within the very first issue on a title that has a pretty cool name and has a lot of potential to be successful. Another mistake they made is I think they really thought bringing Red X kind of from the animated universe into comic books was going to be a huge selling point for this. Red X being an alias for Dick Grayson, like within the animated universe, they were bringing that into Teen Titans Academy, and that was the big mystery. That was the reason that you're supposed to be coming along for this ride. Who is Red X Mystery? I don't think anyone cares. I'm sure there are probably a couple of fans from the animated universe like, oh, I really like Red X, but it's not Dick Grayson. He's not Red X. It's just some other character. A lot of people assumed that it was probably Clown Hunter because he had a Red X, I think, in his costume and stuff. But by the time that they unfurl the mystery and they kind of reveal who Red X is, which I believe is going to be in Teen Titans Academy number 12, who cares? You waited far too long. And that mystery just wasn't compelling enough to bring people in for the long haul for the story. And putting Tim Sheridan on the book to begin with was a terrible idea. He is a terrible comic book writer. He's going to be on the next Jeff Johns project, Flashpoint Beyond. Jeff Johns is probably one of my 2 or 3 favorite comic writers in the industry today. He's right below, Robert Venditti. I don't know if I can read that thing because Tim Sheridan's on there. He's so terrible. Everything he touches turns to shit. That's why he's on my never buy list. Why you would put somebody like a Tim Sheridan, who apparently has had some success in the animation department for Warner Brothers and with DC properties. I'll give him that. But he had essentially never written like DC comic books, and he did not fit into the medium or the universe very well. He was just telling really, really bad stories. He also dropped the ball spectacularly with Shazam, starting in Future State and into the regular, I guess, continuity universe with 4-issue miniseries. The guy is like a death sentence. He's a terrible comic book writer. How were the DC Comics editorial staff not able to discern or figure out almost immediately that Tim Sheridan can't write fucking comic books? With that in mind, I'm glad Teen Titans Academy are canceled. This is a cool idea that was executed at such a poor level. Cancellation was inevitably in its future. I'm shocked that it lasted this long. It should have been capped out as a maxi series. You reveal who Red X is and just cancel the whole damn thing. I do believe we are going to see more cancellations of low performing DC Comics properties as we come into this time for the Dark Crisis. Unfortunately, that could be a lot of DC Comics, not including Batman. DC Comics has done a lot of damage to a lot of their characters. Actually, I'm going to have a video about that on Tuesday explaining how Flash, Justice League, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, how all their sales have tanked. And a lot of it has to do with very poor decisions by DC Comics editorial. One of the worst, Tim Sheridan on Teen Titans Academy. Fortunately, it's being fixed. I kind of do hope we get a Teen Titans Academy series again in the future. Not immediately, but sometime down the road with a creator who understands the purpose of the series and is able to execute it at a level, make Beast Boy the headmaster, bring in a couple of lower level characters that have been associated with the team. And then, you have cameos by some of these other characters and try to get some of these new younger heroes over. It's a cool opportunity and it's a cool idea that I think can work in the DC Comics universe. Until then, I'm hoping we get a Teen Titans that is a cool kick-ass series coming out of Dark Crisis. We know that it's all about legacy. They're hammering legacy all through this. I imagine we are going to get the Teen Titans or Titans, whatever you want to call them now. I imagine they're going to have to get together and go and help save the Justice League while we have the new version of Justice League led by John Kent. I think we're going to have the original sidekicks on Teen Titans, and we'll have the new Justice League will be John Kent and Jace Fox and whatever. And hopefully they do some cool things and are able to spin that out with a good comic book writer, and we can get good Teen Titans again. Because Teen Titans is awesome. It should be one of the real heavy hitters at DC Comics, but it just sucks right now. If you want more information on why Tim Sheridan's Teen Titans Academy sucks, I actually reviewed the very first issue with my friend, award-winning comic book editor Joe Corallo. He's also a writer. There's a lot of issues with this comic book, and then we kind of spell them all out here if you want an actual example of why Tim Sheridan's Teen Titans Academy fails.